Hello everyone. So if you've been wanting to play Tribes 2 Next, the free version, you're having a couple issues, I want to make a simple video of how to get around these. Now, the game is fairly old, as we all know, it's 2001, and if you want to play, you can download it off the Tribes Next website. So if you just go here, it's very simple to install, download the game, go through all the defaults. When I ask you to install DirectX, make sure you do that. Then, once you're done, download the patch and install that as well. So that's very simple. There's nothing really to it. I recommend not changing the game directory just in case because it's pretty finicky. So here are a couple other tips. So to make this work, what you need to do is, if you have any modern computer with multiple processors, essentially a quad core, dual core, you will need to change the affinity, or essentially how the game handles multiple CPUs. So to do that, I'll put all the links below on the video, but you need to download this imagecfg software. Then all you do is run two commands. So you want to go to a command prompt or PowerShell admin. So you do that by right-clicking on the start menu. You can click Windows PowerShell admin. Here, all you do is just enter these two commands. So the first one browses CD to the location of where the game, the second one changes the game's affinity. Now, second of all, you might be getting an unhandled exception error for graphics. Now, this game is very finicky, so if you're trying to stream it on Discord, if you're trying to fiddle around, say like extend your monitor, it will crash. And also, if you change the graphics settings and you think everything's good, make sure you restart the game after that. Just, like I said, it tends to be fairly finicky. As long as you have everything right, it's not going to crash, but if you make some sort of strange like computer graphics change, it will crash on you. Another important tip is a lot of the new computers, when you press the keys from F1 to F12, it's set to do things like change brightness or the volume automatically. What you want to do is go into the BIOS of your laptop and turn that off. The game really does not like this happening. So for example, if you, the score screen is F2, so you need to essentially press function F2 for every time you do anything. And some of these commands can, if they cause something to pop up, will just cause the game to crash. So just make sure you have this settings that I really recommend having it disabled. Now, under settings, when you first get into the game, first you want to obviously start it up in LAN and solo. That way you can kind of tweak the settings and make everything work. So for me, for example, OpenGL just straight up doesn't work, and I've read a lot of people saying that. So Direct3D is what I had to use. These are my settings. I put everything on pretty much high. Actually, everything is on high, yes. And I currently just have the music off. Some other things I recommend, for example, you could do skip intro. I did that. This under network cable, it didn't seem to make any difference. I just put USC, this is where I am. And I'm going to go into, the network was not working, so it took me a little while to get the network working, but I'm quite positive nothing showed here when it wasn't working. So once the network started working, this will display something that is going on. So let's go back to graphics. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here. I just disabled the microphone. Why bother? So yeah, these are my current settings. Game works flawlessly. For example, to make it crash, if I do Windows key and the letter P to extend my display, it will immediately crash. So this is a single player game. Nothing too interesting. I just want to show it working fine. Nothing really here. For example, say I'll press Windows key P and do duplicate. Instant crash. So I'm going to go back. You see screen only. So make sure you set this affinity. At this point, everything should be right. Now, this is a part where I couldn't I just want to discuss a little bit more going into the settings, and that let me open the game here first. So for a long time, I could not get online working for whatever reason, and I'm also not quite sure what I did, because I disabled the firewall, disabled all Windows security, I did tons of different things, and nothing seemed to work. Eventually, I enabled it all back. I let the ports open as normal through the firewall, and I think what actually made it work is right-clicking on this and running as administrator, because the game doesn't seem to start up in administrator mode. And literally after spending an hour plus trying to get it to connect, I ran it as administrator, and it worked with no issue. So I'm going to do that now. All right, and here you're going to want to click Create New Account. We'll go through the process. It has to say the server is online. You can make sure that it is actually online, but it should be online. And at this point, you're pretty much good to go. You create the account, log in, and everything should work. Actually, let me log in here. Here's my hero. And now, one other thing I forgot to mention about the graphics settings, just make sure you exit full screen mode and have it in the window while you set it up. After you set it up, make it full screen. But the game it's pretty finicky when you minimize it. So when you minimize it from non-full screen mode, it tends to handle this better. As you saw, I just pressed Windows key P and it crashed immediately. So if you're doing kind of something weird graphics related in the back, it will crash. So just keep that in mind. Play with everything. The first time I installed this, I set the resolution on OpenGL. Full screen was on and the mouse was screwed up where I couldn't click on any of the buttons as it was slightly shifted. It was kind of a pain in the neck. I had to uninstall and everything. So yeah, at this point, I just join some random game to show you that it works. And if anyone has any anything else to note about the network troubleshooting, as I said, I'm quite sure literally just right-clicking this and running it as administrator is what made it work. And I was trying to replicate the issue, trying to make it so I couldn't connect to the server. I enabled everything. I even didn't run it as administrator, and it now works. But for a long time, it just straight up I couldn't get this to work under any circumstances.